Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin our newscast tonight with a conversation with one of our own. Primetime local news anchor Judy Gabriel was diagnosed with COVID-19 last month. Stacey Comer talked to Judy about her journey with the disease.
We are joined tonight on Primetime Local News by a familiar face who's usually around here, but unfortunately our Judy Gabriel has had some really bad luck health-wise. Judy, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know that you're still not feeling well, but thank you for joining us to tell your story.
I'm glad to be here with you.
Now, Judy, most of our viewers will know you from anchoring our newscast and doing interviews for us, but you were diagnosed last month with COVID-19, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about that journey, how that happened, how it started, and how you got to the diagnosis.
Well, on February 27th, I remember getting a weird cough, and it kind of escalated a little bit, and then all of a sudden I was feeling my throat, everything was hurting. So I went to the doctor, and I remember going there and him telling me that I had bronchitis. And so at that time I said, yeah, is it COVID, you think? Maybe? No. And at that time it was still new, COVID, right? So he said, no, I don't think that's it. I think you have bronchitis. So he gave me some some antibiotics and cough syrup, codeine, and then nose spray, and then told me to go home for 5 days, sleep it off, and get this medication. You'll be fine. And so I did, and then I went back to work, and then after maybe even after a week or so, I was feeling good. I was feeling okay. I had a little bit of congestion in my lungs, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just a healing thing. So on March 17th, I remember going back to the same doctor who said, okay, well, it should have cleared by now. And I was coughing, and I said, is this COVID now? Like, should we test for that?
Right.
And he said, no, we shouldn't test for that. It is pneumonia, and we'll do an x-ray and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll come back on March 20th, which was Friday, and we'll see you again. And I said, okay. Went home, and he said, isolate from everyone. I said, okay. And so finally I did, and by Friday the 20th, I got a call. I went to him, and he said, okay, we looked at your x-rays and stuff, and we were going to test for COVID. And I said, okay. So he took a nasal swab, which is a very long swab, into my nose at the very top.
Right.
It burnt, and I said, oh, is it supposed to burn like this? And he said, well, I think so. I'm not sure. But anyway, we got the test done. And he told me to go home, but first he gave me Tamiflu, which is an influenza medication on top of the antibiotics and the nose spray, and also an inhaler that he had given me. And so I said, okay. Went home, and he said, stay home until they call you to let you know whether you have COVID or not. And on Sunday, I got a call from, on Sunday, I got a call from Alberta Health Services to confirm that I had COVID.
Now, by that time, though, Judy, your symptoms had already gone downhill. You were deteriorating very quickly by that time. Tell me about that process.
Yeah. Okay, so between that time when I got told that I had pneumonia, I remember just my chest felt like something was sitting on it, and I could feel cuts in it, but not heavy just yet. I was processing that whole process and trying to breathe and trying to feel better, but I was sweating, I was feverish, my head was hurting, I was feeling nauseous, I was disoriented, foggy brained, lost my taste and the smell. I remember that I couldn't smell very well, and my lungs were the ones that I was concerned about, because I was having a hard time breathing. My breathing was getting worse and worse, and I could hardly speak, but I was coughing, and finally the Monday came, and I remember calling 911 because I thought I was plummeting really fast. And when they got here, the first paramedics that got here, I remember them being scared to come into my apartment. I live alone. So one of them came in finally and talked to me for a bit, and then eventually just said, hey, do you want to stay or go? But at this point, I can't think, right? My head, so foggy, and I was disoriented. And I was pretty ill at that moment. And but then I just laid down, and he's like, okay, she's going to stay. And he left. They left, and I thought, I'm going to figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, well, Judy, we're going to be back here for the commercial break to talk more about this, and we're going to talk about what happened after that time. So thank you for joining us for this first segment. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
As the government of Saskatchewan prepares to reopen parts of the economy, questions are being raised as how the plan will impact Lloydminster. Lloydminster's incident management team discussed that and more in today's COVID-19 update.
We're here for the COVID-19 update with the City of Lloydminster. Today is Thursday, April 23, 2020. We have a few questions submitted by Primetime Local News. Their first question: Premier Scott Moe addressed the province this morning with the Saskatchewan government's plan to reopen the province. How will the city deal with it, and will it only apply to Saskatchewan businesses or the whole city?
The City of Lloydminster is aware of the Premier's address this morning on the plan to reopen Saskatchewan. The City will be working with both of our provincial health authorities to determine the best steps to reopen the City of Lloydminster and its businesses. We are governed under the state of local emergency, and we'll be ensuring that any rules in effect apply to our whole community on both sides of the border. For more information on how this will work, please visit the City of Lloydminster website.
And so I just have a follow-up here from 1061 The Goat. Just to be a little bit more specific, you did say that you're asking about, that you are talking about discussing with both provincial governments. Will you wait specifically for Alberta to mention anything about lifting restrictions, or it's going to play things out as they are?
It is early to determine on which side we'll go with, but we'll be working with both of them and on their recommendations moving forward with the City of Lloydminster's plan.
And we'll move on to question 2 for Primetime Local News. As the weather starts warming or continues to warm, are residents prohibited from having garage sales or yard sales?
At this time, garage sales are not permitted at this time. We do expect that the provinces will be rolling out information in the very near future on how garage sales can proceed with restrictions in place. As we gather more information, we'll be sharing it with our community, and for the most up-to-date information, visit the City of Lloydminster website.
And question 3, there's currently a COVID-19 outbreak at Pioneer Lodge in Lloydminster. And does the city have a reaction to this?
We are aware of the news release Pioneer Lodge put out yesterday on the COVID-19 outbreak within their facility. Our hearts and prayers go out to the staff and residents of that facility, and the city has reached out and will be offering support.
And one follow-up question to that from the GOAT. This kind of also has to do with the Pioneer Lodge case that was mentioned, and tying back to the announcement from today. Is it too early considering the situation at Pioneer Lodge and looking at opening whether it's businesses or outdoor parks and recreation facilities?
We trust the recommendations by both of our chief medical officers of health for both of our provinces. They've been able to guide us so far through the last 6 weeks of this pandemic outbreak, and we trust them to lead us in the future as well.
Stay with us. More Primetime Local News after the break.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Welcome back. We continue our discussion with Primetime Local News anchor Judy Gabriel, who is battling COVID-19. Here's more of her conversation with Stacey Comer.
Judy Gabriel is back with us once again. Judy, normally you'll see her face on our newscast, anchoring, hosting panels, just, generally being a great person to be around. And she's had a tough go, as you saw in our first part of our newscast after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Judy, when we left the conversation in the first segment, we talked about the paramedics coming in and you decided to stay at home. But shortly after that, a former retired physician here in Lloydminster, Dr. Raf Saeed, found out about your condition and spoke with you. And he convinced you that you needed to be in the hospital. So let's start there and tell me what happened at that point.
Definitely. I was plummeting really fast, and because I was on my own, I don't think I was very coherent, and I couldn't really figure it out by myself. And I was losing breath a lot. So he had called and said, hey, you need to get to the hospital. This is going to take a turn for the worse. And I remember listening to him, but then at the same time I said, okay, I will. And every time I said I will, I was just trying to breathe and feeling fatigued and foggy. Anyway, so finally he said, if you don't call, I'm going to call. So then I remember thinking about my family and thinking, I don't want them to be sad just to lose me. So I called 911 and they came, the paramedics got me. I got to the hospital and they put me in an isolated room. They have a section for just COVID, for the COVID cases.
Right.
And I remember coming in there and they weren't ready for that kind of stuff. I was their first patient. So they put me in that one room and I was vomiting, I was coughing. I remember trying to breathe and I found a section to breathe through my lungs. And I remember just vomiting and holding my breath just so I can get clear of that so that I can breathe again. Because at that point I felt like I was gonna plummet and I was gonna die, really. That's how I felt. And luckily the specialist, Dr. Abdullah, had come in and he right away assessed it and administered hydrochloroquine,
right,
which is something that they were just testing. He just said, you're our guinea pig, basically, and we're going to see if this works, and hope to God it works.
And
I remember being scared, but I couldn't.
Do you feel that it did work, Judy? Do you think that, I mean, there's obviously a lot of controversy over the drug itself, but in your case, do you feel that it worked?
I think in my case, it did something. It suppressed something for me to be able to breathe again. So within 3-4 days, I was able to breathe and be able to talk, and that's when I started videotaping a little bit of myself for my family. And I think it was important for them to do that, and it's the drug of hope, whether or not it works. I know that there's a lot of side effects. My heart right now, I'm going through a few things with my heart right now. So, it speeds up, it slows down, it does its own thing, but it's painful a little bit. And so my lungs are still healing and all of those things. But I mean, COVID affects most of the parts in your system, right?
Right.
It really destroyed my lungs in terms of, lung tissue breakdown and just recovering from that. And the heart thing is just, I think, either compensating for my lungs or it's just something else. So I sweat at night. It feels like I have a fever still. I feel very weak, but I can talk and I can breathe, which is a good thing.
Now, you've been dealing with Judy with this for well over a month, and one of the reasons you said you wanted to start telling your story is to create awareness. When you were working in our building and developed COVID, there were several others who had COVID as well, to a lot less degree than what you had. But I think the important thing here to talk about is how easily it is to see this spread and to see people catch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an unknown virus and what it does and how it transfers from one person to another. Obviously, a lot of things, we have to wash our hands, we have to take care of ourselves, and we have to social distance. And we have to, take being quarantined and staying at home very seriously. Unfortunately, I think that we don't have the enough equipment to retest people that have had COVID.
And that was one of the things, Judy, you said you would like to get a second test, because the procedure now in Saskatchewan and Alberta is if you are tested COVID positive, once you get past, it's a 10 or a 14-day period, just depending, and then you make 24 to 48 hours without symptoms, you're considered clear. But because your case is unique, you have been asking for a retest, but what's been happening with that? Any luck at all?
Yeah, I think they're going to do more of a EKG and test my phlegm and test other stuff.
But not a COVID test?
But not a COVID test, and this is why they said that you can't. Because once COVID enters your body, it becomes part of your DNA. Okay. And so you'll still you'll still test positive because your body has adapted it into its system. That's what it does. And so they said, well, you're going to test positive anyway. So it's really defeating the purpose. So then I carry on thinking, well, I said, well, what if it reactivates or it does something where it comes back or it's wreaking havoc still? And she said, well, we don't know those things and we're hoping that you're clear of it. But right now at this moment, to test you would be, you'd be COVID anyway. So it's a very confusing time because you want to be retested so you know that you're clear of that. So I'm able to communicate with people, not communicate, but at least like walk outside and do a little bit of exercise. Right. I'm all by myself in the house and stuff like that. So it's hard to kind of do stuff here. But yeah, the retesting is very important. I think it's an important thing we do, but I guess they don't do that here.
Right.
And so been pushing for that. And
well, Judy, we're just about running out of time here, but thank you for speaking with us. I know you have a long battle ahead, and obviously everybody here at Primetime Local News and Stingray Television wishes you the best. If you had one message right now, Judy, to share with the public about everything you've been through, what would you tell them?
I would say take it seriously. It's not something that you joke about, and I think people that have a better immune system or whatever, mine was something that happened because of my weak immune because of it was just because of my bronchitis. But I think for people to be aware that you could affect someone's life, that people die from this. It's not something that you want to play around with, and being, socially isolated or social distancing is very important. I think we're going to save a lot of lives, people that have immune compromised and people that are elderly. Like, we have to take care of our grandparents and our families, and we have to think about those things. I mean, we're all in this together.
Well, Judy, once again, thank you so much. I know you're still not feeling well, but we send you our best wishes, and we hope to see you back here soon. So make sure that you are getting better. That's a direct order from myself. So we want to see you get better and get back here soon.
Today I'm joined with Jess Tatu, the owner of Just For You Spas and one of Canada's most powerful women. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tell me a little bit about how you run a spa, Just For You Spas. Obviously, since the pandemic has started, you can't offer any hand contact spa services, but you have been offering something else that people can do at home.
Yeah, so it's been a really difficult time. I mean, we had 158 employees we had to lay off, so it was really difficult. However, we wanted to do something just to be able to kind of send, a little bit of JFY home with our customers. So we brainstormed and we came up with about 20 different packages that are kind of stay at home spa survival packages is what we've called them. And then we have them available for curbside pickup or shipping or delivery. And it's really nice because it gives us a chance to kind of remind clients that it's important to take time for yourself, especially right now with how crazy things are and, the stress that people are feeling. And it's really important to focus on a little bit of self-care if you can. And so we worked really hard to put some kits together for that.
And now, instead of just closing down your spas, why did you decide that you wanted to do these at-home kits for your clients or for anybody who just wants to relax and take care of themselves?
Well, for a couple of reasons. I mean, unfortunately, we were sanctioned to close. However, there's been no sanction to stop our rent payments and things like that. So, I mean, we do have to keep our doors open somehow. And we had to kind of get creative on how we could do that safely, productively, efficiently. And so, we did some brainstorming, my lead management team, and we came up with the idea we have all this product, it's sitting here with the doors closed. How can we get it in the hands of our customers, still pay our bills? We've done a 20% off gift card sale, which we've never done before. That's like the first time in 18 years that I've ever seen it that high, and it's been crazy. So that's really good because when we do open, we realize that people are stressed out and they're going to want to get back in and get that massage and get relaxed and, de-stress a little. So we're offering those gift cards. So, I mean, it's a couple different reasons. Obviously, we want to help people, but we also, we want to keep our doors open.
And how can people, if they would like to purchase one of these kits, how can they go about contacting you to purchase one of those or those gift cards that you mentioned?
So you can go right to our website, justforyoudaySpa.com. You can message us on Instagram or Facebook. More often than not, you're going to get me on the other end. I'm it's new for me to be doing all of that myself, but I love it. And you can call us 306-934-7546. You can email us info.saskatoon@justforyoudayspot.com. You can go to leahreese.com. Lots of different ways. So we're here for you. We're ready to keep you relaxed during this craziness.
Now, putting Just For You spas aside, you have had also another busy kind of few days. You are one of Canada's most powerful women, as I mentioned at the beginning, and you also spent a lot of time on MyWi's Instagram page. We've done a couple of interviews with them, with Jesse and Christian on here. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with MyWi and their Instagram page yesterday.
Okay, so first of all, these two women might be the two kindest women I've ever met in my life. Now, I've been asked probably 100 times to tell my story on a podcast, and I've always turned it down. I am a public speaker and I share my story publicly, but it's very sensitive and very personal, and it had to be the right fit. And these girls just I don't know, they just connected with me. I trust them. They're wonderful people. I believe very strongly in what they're doing. And so they asked me to be on their podcast. I immediately drove to Lloydminster and did it. Loved it. And then, we got chatting about their social media, and I'm so supportive of everything they're doing. I was just really happy to jump online and kind of give their followers a bit of behind the scenes of life for me right now. It's very different than it normally would be in business, but it was kind of interesting to jump on and meet new people, and it was great. I love what they're doing, so I was happy to help.
Yeah, that was awesome, and it looked so much fun. I was watching the stories yesterday. It just looked like you were having so much fun, and you were sharing so much awesome information. But we are running out of time. Just quickly, one more time, if anybody wants to get in contact with you for those amazing spa kits, how can they do so?
Just go to our website, justforyoudayspot.com, or call us 306-934-7546.
All right, thank you so much, Jess, for joining me today. Thanks.
In yesterday's WHL Bantam Draft, a handful of Lloydminster prospects were taken. From that group, Riker Singer was taken 22nd overall by the Prince George Cougars. He took his time to sit down and chat with our Evan Kenny.
Joining me today is one of the newest members of the Prince George Cougars, drafted 22nd overall, Riker Singer. Riker, thanks for taking this time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Now, Riker, going in the first round of yesterday's WHL Bantam Draft, what was that experience like? What kind of emotions were going through your head at the time?
Just the excitement for any team really, but it was pretty nerve-wracking, thinking about what team's going to pick you and how things are going to work after that. But in the end, it all worked out pretty good, and I'm happy with where I went.
What was the scouting process like? Had you talked to scouts throughout the season or in the weeks or days prior to the draft?
Yep, I've talked to almost about every team before that and throughout the season. Yeah, they all ask a bunch of questions. You try to get them to know them pretty well, and yeah.
And for yourself, coming off the season that you did, 51 points, as well as the Alberta Bantam Hockey League's Major Bantam Hockey League, rather, top forward and MVP. Just talk about that in the season you had.
It was great. Just the teammates and the people who helped me along the way. I couldn't have done it without them, and I'm just extremely grateful for the coaching staff and my friends and family, especially my teammates who helped me along the way.
And you mentioned your teammates. A handful of them also got drafted yesterday. What was that like, I guess, just being able to, chit-chat with your buddies and compare and whatnot?
Yeah, it was great. I'm super proud of them. They worked just as hard throughout the season trying to get better, and it's great to see that they got rewarded too.
Now, Riker, going to Prince George, they're a young team. What are you looking to contribute in your first couple seasons there?
Just trying to be the hardworking player, competitive, never quits, and an all-around team guy. Get to know players. Yeah.
Are those some of the characteristics you might say that you play with, in your Bantam League this year and in your Midget League next year, hopefully?
Yes, for sure.
And if there were one or two key tools that you have as a player, what would you hope to carry over into your WHL play?
I'd say leadership and competitiveness, never quitting.
And Riker, you know, obviously with the COVID-19 going on, it's been a tough off-season for everyone and athletes alike. For yourself, has there been any steps that you've taken during this time to, you know, really progress your hockey play?
Yes, shooting pucks every day, going for a couple block run, and then just workouts in my basement and outside. Just really trying to get ready for the next level.
And just sticking to the basics, especially in a time like now where a lot of gyms are closed. Those are the kind of things that you really can be doing. And I mean, obviously it shows from your play, 51 points this past season and getting drafted 22nd overall. Riker, thanks again for taking this time with us, and congratulations and good luck with your future.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
With greenhouses being deemed essential services, Eric Bay takes a look at what the decision means for local greenhouses and how they're preparing for the upcoming season.
I'm joined today by Jason Anderson of Kathy's Greenhouse. Thank you for taking the time with me today, Jason. And now, can I just get your initial reaction to greenhouses being named an essential service?
Yeah, we've been working on that. I'm actually a member of the Alberta Greenhouse Growers Association board. I'm the vice president. And we've been working on that for a while here. And we were eagerly awaiting it. And it was just a major relief when it actually happened. And we got the word for sure that we were deemed essential service, yes.
And now, yeah, you just mentioned you're part of the Alberta Greenhouse Growers Association. So can you take me, I guess, a little bit through that process and what you guys saw trying to get you guys deemed essential services?
Well, you know, there's a lot to it, and most greenhouses grow bedding plants as well as vegetable transplants. So there's a huge portion of that. You know, there's been a few food security issues. You know, we can't get exactly what we want out of the stores when we want it. So if people are, you know, it's sounding and looking to the places that have been open for a little bit now that sales on the veg side of things are really good. But the other component to the whole thing is pure and simple mental health. I couldn't imagine a summer with no flowers out and about and around, and you know, the pollinators and everything else. And it's going to give people something to do as this thing hopefully tails off fairly quick for us.
And now, obviously, you guys are going to be open and practicing, you know, social distancing, putting in those preventative measures. So just tell me a little bit, I guess, how that's going to look for you guys here going into this summer.
Well, like most businesses that have already done this, we've got to maintain our social distancing for sure, and that's going to be a moving target as far as the operation goes. It's going to be based a lot on public cooperation. If we have to, we will shut the doors and just do curbside pickup. It has to be safe for everybody, staff included, and we think it's easily doable, and with a little bit of cooperation, and everybody should be able to get exactly what they want when they want it, and so all we can do is work with that.
And now also you guys too are a local business. So how important is it too for you guys just as a local business to keep working and also be supported here by the community?
It's huge. Like, I mean, any small business right now, it's critical that anybody that can support us as a small business it's massive. It's going to be the difference between a lot of these places being there after this is done and it not happening. Like, honestly, if we weren't able to have a season this year, it would have been iffy probably whether we could make it back next year. And I suspect a lot of small businesses are in that same thing. So anybody who does start back up, and when things start back up, yeah, local, anybody who can at all shop local, that is the best.
Now, obviously, you guys are working very hard to get ready. So how can people find you online, and when are you guys going to be open?
Yeah, we're going to be hopefully opening up, and it's looking like everything's a couple shipments that I had to have before Monday are here. So it looks like we should be able to open up next Monday's our plan. Web store, I hope, is ready to roll for Monday as well, but there's a lot of work there yet. There's a whole lot of different things that we have to do, and you know, if I have to delay opening for a day or two to make sure everything's right, that's what we're going to do.
All right. Well, I know you guys are obviously very busy right now, so really appreciate you taking the time with me today, and good luck with your opening.
All right, I'm very pleased to be joined with Rory Christie from First General Services. Rory, first off, thank you very much for joining me today.
Good, thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about how your business has adapted to the COVID-19 pandemic. I know a lot of businesses we talked to have had to make changes. So what kind of specific changes at First General have you guys had to make?
Well, indeed, we've introduced a number of additional protocols to monitor our workers' health and safety and potential exposure, as well as obviously asking additional questions of clients, just to ensure that we're not inadvertently exposing ourselves to anything as well.
Now, you mentioned what the employees kind of have to do into taking caution. Is there new protocols for them when they go out on calls, or I guess just when they're around the office? What kind of stuff have they been doing?
Indeed, we're monitoring all their health, taking temperatures to ensure that they're, healthy and that they're not sick. If they were, then they would be further tested beyond that. Of course, same exposure limitations. If you're feeling sick or not feeling well, to notify us, and you'd be staying at home. So.
Now, I know you guys focus mostly on natural restoration and the disaster services as well. What kind of, are you getting a lot of calls at this time of year? I know it may be a little bit different. It's a different kind of disaster obviously out there, but have you guys been getting a decent amount of calls at least, or?
Indeed, we are across Canada. We're deemed an essential service in our industry, so we still have to deal, with the emergencies as they come in. Rebuilds, we are kind of assessing them on a base-by-base situation, so that we know whether or not there's going to be any potential for exposure. But certainly emergencies, we take additional precautions when we are there with wipe down protocols and additional PPE.
Now, I know as a business owner there, are you a little worried with the way things have been going with other businesses in terms of the way that they've had to shut down? And I know you guys are deemed as essential service, as you mentioned, but does it kind of still worry you just from a business side of things, the way COVID has been going?
Well, indeed, this is a very tough and difficult time for everyone out there. It's an uncharted territory that makes it much more difficult for everyone, and I think economically, I think definitely it's going to be not only employees but business owners. They are not prepared for this kind of situation.
Now, do you guys have a long-term plan if COVID-19 continues to go further down, past the summer? Is there kind of something that you guys have in place and what you guys are going to do?
Well, indeed, we're probably one of the most prepared type industries, because we have some of the only standards established for cleaning protocols and bacteria and viral infections. So we are relatively prepared in that essence to be able to continue to do our work in that manner. How this affects people's rebuilds and that would still has to be played out. Hopefully with spring coming, we don't have a whole bunch of flooding, because of course it'll make things very difficult for people in their homes if they not only have COVID to deal with, but also an emergency situation as well.
Well, Rory, thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time, and best of luck to you down this difficult time.
Indeed, thank you very much.
Welcome back. Taking a look at your 7-day forecast right now. We've had some fairly cloudy coverage over the last couple of hours here. As we head into tomorrow, we could see close to a 30 to 55% chance of some showers tomorrow, so a high of 13 degrees. As we head into the weekend, much warmer with a high of 17 degrees, and we'll still have that trend of very, very warm mornings. A high of 12 on Sunday, where it starts to clear up a little bit more. 13 degrees on Monday as it clouds up a little bit more. 15 on Tuesday, where we could see a little bit of sun though, but mostly covered with some clouds there. 19 on Wednesday there with some mostly sunny skies and a bit of cloud coverage. 14 on Thursday with mostly cloudy skies.